Got it.
Hello, this is Kathy Elliott welcoming Rose Chant to Empower Network TV. We're so thrilled to have you here today, Rose.
Hi, everybody.
So I think we'll just start with maybe who you are, where you're located, and kind of what you've been up to. How about that?
That sounds great. Thank you. My name is Rose. I am a certified addiction recovery coach out in British Columbia, Canada. I help individuals rebuild their lives after they achieve sobriety, because it's a scary time between addiction and recovery, and it sometimes feels like you're waking up from a coma and everybody's moved ahead in their lives, and I help people get over that hump and the anxieties.
Yeah. And so how did you get into this? What the passion project, I would guess can you tell us more about how you got into it, how long you've been coaching, what you do, how you help people?
Absolutely. I got interested in addiction and recovery because I myself struggled with addiction. I'm just over 8 years sober myself now. And I've seen the worst of addiction time and time again. And I've seen people that could have been very successful if they just had that extra help. I've seen them die. I've seen them relapse. It's tragic. So I decided to dedicate my life to helping other people so that doesn't happen to them and they can achieve long-term sobriety and get their families back. The way that I do it is mostly online, unless somebody lives in Nanaimo where I am, then I can meet them in person. But for the most part, it's online. We meet once a week and I provide texting or email support to them between sessions. And we set up small achievable goals so they can reach their largest goals, which we figure out over time, because you don't know right away, your mind is just filled with all these ideas, but I help them hone down, get focused, and then achieve what they want to achieve. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, so what brings a person to finally want to get help or to really change their lives? Is there a certain catalyst that you've seen, or I'm sure there's lots of different reasons, totally based on the individual, but I'm curious how someone gets to a point of really ready to change their lives and become sober or change their addiction habits.
Well, it's like you said, it's different for everybody. I've seen many people get sober for their kids, to get their kids back.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, one of my first sponsors actually had that happen. Her mom was like, "I'm taking your kids if you don't get sober," and then she's like, "Okay, I'll do it," and she did it, and she's still amazing.
It's a good motivation, huh?
Oh, totally. But a lot of times that's not enough. A lot of times that's not enough.
That's so sad.
Sometimes even, that's such a hard question for a lot of people. It's just time, and there's no real thing, because you can see lots of people living on the streets. You can see lots of people who are constantly in and out of the hospital and still using, and imminent death over their head, they're still using. So it really, I really can't answer that. I don't know. Something just shifts in them and they're ready and they have that willingness finally. And once they have that fight, if they have the proper support, they can do it.
And how long does it typically take one to really get through the recovery process and be committed to changing their lives? Again, I'm sure that's an individual base, but is there a typical?
Yeah, typically I've noticed when you get over the 6-month hump, if you still have that motivation and you make it to that 1 year, a lot of times it feels like you're scot-free. And for a lot of people, that's true, but you have to have the right supports in place at that 1 year. Because I firmly believe in the first year, you stop dying. In the second year, you start living. So you've
Yeah.
got to be ready to start making those moves. Like if you're going to go back to school, if you're going to make a shift in your job, I don't really know what their dream might be, but they got to get going on it. Because once you're sober for a year, if you have nothing going on, it's so easy just to give up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed a year. Once you're sober for a year, if you still have that willingness, then you're good for a while. But
Like
addiction
that.
never goes away. That's the scary thing.
So it's a constant working process, right? I mean, yeah. So 1 year is typically a good point to know that someone's likely to stay in recovery after a year. And I loved what you said, they stop dying and start living. Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty significant. Yeah. So if people have friends and family members, is there a way to help friends and family? I know, I mean, my guess is doing enough self-development work that people are going to have to want to recover themselves. They're going to have to get to the point. But are there things friends and family can do to help support a member, that a loved one they know with addiction? I mean, I know there's something they can do to support. Can they help guide to recovery? What's the
Oh, absolutely. There's lots out there. There's Al-Anon,
Mhm.
there's Nar-Anon. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous for the family and Narcotics Anonymous
Oh,
for the family. And they have a lot of online meetings too. And I'm excited that you brought that up because I'm actually
okay.
adding a new coaching package for the family. And a
I
big
would think that is so important. Yeah.
Oh, it is. It's so important. Like I was blessed to have such a supportive family. Like my mom and my sister learned about addiction so that they could support me. And I have a client actually whose family is very involved, and they learned as much as they could just so they could support her. And it makes so much of a difference if the family knows, and if the family has that support too, because addiction is a family disease.
Yeah.
Affects every single person, and codependence becomes real. So having that support for the family is so necessary so that everybody can move on to a fruitful life.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about you. So you offer coaching for the individual, and then you offer a package for whomever. Do they bring the family members in, or is that like a separate client that would come, or is it all integrated?
It's for anybody. It's for any family member, even if they're a family member of an addict who is refusing to get sober, but they
Yeah.
just want to get their own darn life back because of that
Yeah.
question you have about your family member. What are they doing? Where are they? And am I supporting them or am I hindering them? So it's honestly for any family member who has an addict in their family or friend, anybody who just needs that extra support. Yeah, and it's a new package. I haven't even put on my website yet. I'm still working on it to perfect it. But yeah, because in the package that I have right now, I offer one free session a month for a family member if they want to
Oh,
learn
that's
more.
awesome to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, and my clients' families have been so interested in it that I was like, I should just offer a package just for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying that they don't even have to have a client that's in recovery with you or working with you. That's a separate market for you. That's awesome.
It's
I
completely.
know it's really, like you said, it's really tough for people who, don't know whether you're hindering or helping. I actually have been married to 3 alcoholics, 2, I'm ashamed to say, 2 recovered that I never saw drinking, and 1 active. And so it's a tough place to be in. Can you tell us, are you willing to share a little bit about your journey with addiction and how you got to where to be able to help others?
Sure. Yeah, it's actually a long journey. I personally started using when I was 12, alcohol and weed. And it was after a traumatic incident. I won't go into detail because I want to, but yeah, something bad happened. And I heard from TV and people at school that using alcohol or drugs helps you not feel pain. So I was like, perfect. So I
Ah, Solution.
Yeah, I was like, great. Because, 12 years old, I
Wow.
didn't know the downside, right? And my
Of course.
he never talked about it. So I just heard that alcoholism ran in my family. I didn't know what that meant. So I gave it a try and immediately just became addicted, and it ruled my life all through school. And then when I was 14, I got in a massive car accident with a few friends, and I I got a traumatic brain injury, and they didn't think that I would be alive or have cognitive function if I was alive. So after I was in a coma for about 3 weeks, when I woke up, one of the biggest things the neuropsychologist said was, do not drink, do not do drugs, do not do anything, because it is very dangerous to your brain and it's healing. And I actually struggled not to drink. And that was a red flag in my head that I needed to stop. So I quit for 6 months just to keep myself alive. But then after 6 months, I was like, oh, I'm sure that I'm healed enough. And it was New Year's, actually,
Ah, yeah.
or some kind of celebration that everybody drinks at. So then I started drinking again. And following that, it was a lot of interventions with my family, a lot of trying counseling, trying to just not drink hard liquor, only drink beer, or, just shifting everything. And no, it just got worse. And then when I hit 18, I had to get a jaw surgery, and that introduced me to narcotics.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, then I was just gone. I was completely gone. And yeah, my mom was a huge support through the whole thing. And I always, for my family coaching package, just to talk about that again,
Sure.
I actually asked my mom what she did so I could help other moms and stuff, because I was like, what
Oh,
do you do? Because you did it perfectly. You did it perfectly. She kept space from me. She was honest and talked to me about it, never shamed me about it. And
yeah.
came trying to come up with solutions. And yeah, so I felt comfortable coming to her and being like, Mom, I started using cocaine again. I don't know why, I just did, and can you help me? And she's like, we'll get you back in counseling, hun, don't worry, and stuff like that. But after a while, she just had to separate herself. Her and my sister had to, because I was just always going missing, or dangerous situations kept coming up and I was worrying them. So they had to separate themselves from me, and I hit my bottom alone.
Oh,
And then my mom showed up right on time and said, are you ready to go to rehab? And I was like, yes, let's go. So
and then,
yeah,
yeah.
then I just dove in with both feet in treatment. And yeah, the same thing after. I've just been completely wholly committed to it ever since, is just addiction and helping addicts. It's just, yeah.
It's such a blessing you had your mother to help you through that. Do you think it was innate for her just to know how to do that? Because it's frustrating when you have children that are going a path that you see that and what do you do? And to be able to give you space and not want to be on top of you trying to fix you, was that just innate for her, or did she have a good model or coach that taught her to do that?
I think part of it was innate, and another part, she studied psychology for a bit.
Okay.
That may have helped. And my father was an addict. None of us knew. He was kind of an absentee father. Until I got clean, I didn't know why. And I found
Yeah.
out it was because he was also an addict, and it was safer for him to be away from us girls. So I guess living with him for a while, maybe she picked up on some stuff, and because he always went to Al-Anon because his dad was also an addict. I think there's a high genetic component to it. Yeah.
How
So
high is that genetic component? Do you know? I mean, again, I had both of my parents went to Al-Anon. They were not addicted, but both of them had addicted alcoholic parents. And so they went to Al-Anon, but I never could. I didn't understand how that would help so far, so many generations down. It can still help because, right, often empaths are connected to addiction, and codependency is another thing I think they really teach you about. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just gonna say. Like, even if you don't have that addicted family member still present, all those behaviors passed down through generations.
Yeah,
Of
that's what I was
and-
trying to say. Yeah,
Yeah, it's almost like a generational trauma kind of deal.
exactly, exactly. So what are some of the tools you help people? Can you share some of the tools and things you use to, or what your practice is, or some of the components of your program?
Sure. It's very individualized, just like how everybody's addiction is very individualized. Everybody's story is different, but the feelings are the same. You probably hear that a lot. So we have our initial consult, which is free, and I find out if we're even a good fit, if maybe they need to go to rehab first or
Mhm.
whatever they might need. And then once we get all signed up and good to go, our first real session just really digs into where they're from, what their life was like. And then we find out which areas need to be, it's like a puzzle. We find out which pieces
Yeah.
need to be worked on. And for a lot of them, the first thing we need to do is work on self-esteem, self-respect, and build that up to give them that faith in themselves to go, I can achieve my dreams. And then we find out what their dreams are. And then we start building towards those, like getting them signed up for school or whatever they might need as well. But then there's others who are much farther behind and just got sober and never went to high school, don't have an ID, don't have anything like that. So I can help them get all of that. I'm kind of like their little assistant in their pocket on their phone that can just
Awesome. Wow.
yeah. Yeah. And they're allowed to text me all day long if they need to. If they're just having a bad day, they can just be like, Rose, I have nothing going on, but can we just talk? And then we can just talk. Because one of the hardest things in recovery is you have to let go of all your old friends, or at least that's what most of us had to do, because they're triggers or they might be using still. So a lot of people are lonely at the beginning. So
That must be so difficult. Yeah. To
Mhm.
get past that stage. Wow.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I'm like their compass. I just help them get to where they need to go, because it's so easy to give up, especially when your brain is all scrambled from early recovery. And once you're sober at the beginning, it's like a tidal wave of emotions. Plus, you don't know how to communicate with other people. Plus,
Yeah.
you use, plus all your friends are successful and you feel like, I felt like a loser, honestly, once I got sober. I was like, oh, all my friends have careers, kids, houses, and I have my cat and that's it. So
Wow.
yeah, it's helping them have that faith and remember things. Like I'll message them on Thursday and be like, hey, did you make that appointment? Is it set up? Oh, good, good, good. Or set it up, just reminders.
Yeah. And isn't it such a shame that people are thinking that they're not doing, because it's such a difficult thing to do. And so, it's an amazing thing when people recover from, and it's a shame that often people think that they're in a losing position instead of really winning, because it really is winning. Like you said, it's taking their life back and beginning living. So we're so blessed to have you empowering others in that way.
Thank you.
Tell me, what else do you have coming up in 20? Please tell us your website, and we'll put it in the comments to make sure everyone knows. If you have any other things you'd like to promote, you're welcome to promote them here. If you have any upcoming events or programs or things you'd like to tell us about, you can tell us.
Well, my website is rosechant.com.
Okay, and we'll put it in the comments so everyone will have it.
And it's actually, I'm working on building a new website right now. Like I have people building a new one. So it's going to be much better in a couple months. But yeah, so the big thing that I've been working on right now is the family coaching packages. That's the new shift. That's a new thing I've been focusing my attention on. And in the next few years, I'm hoping to open some recovery houses
Wow.
with coaches in it or adjacent to it. Because like I said before in a different interview, actually, was that what concerns me about sober houses, which are amazing, I even lived in one, they really help. If you can afford it, do it after treatment, just saying.
Yeah.
Is that they don't focus on the life skills as much as they should and stuff like that. Like they do a lot on emotional well-being, which is fantastic, but the life skills are important before they move on to their own place, right? So
Right.
when I open a recovery house, they're going to have coaches in there teaching them how to life, getting them on the road to where they need to be. And if they fit in with that coach a lot, when they get out of the treatment or the sober house, they can continue with that coach. And one day I'm praying that I can open a treatment center, but that's a huge dream, but I dream big. So who
Dream
knows?
big, please do. Well, you're in the right place in the Empowerment Network because there's a lot of big dreams on the way and happening. So it's a lot of magic happening in the Facebook group as well as the Academy. So
Yeah.
dream big, please do. You're really helping a lot of people, and that is a true blessing.
Thank
Is
you.
there anything else you'd like for us to know or viewers to know, or?
If you're watching this podcast or listening to this podcast and you're on the fence thinking that your using might be a problem, I encourage you to just find someone that you can talk to honestly and get that help that you need, because people who aren't addicted don't wonder if they are. So if you're wondering, you probably are, and it's better to get that help now before it goes too far. And feel free to book a free consult with me on my website at rosechant.com under work with me. There's a
Perfect.
link that will take you somewhere that will set you up with a free consult. And even if you're not looking for a coach, I can help you find a way to get sober in your own right. And I'm happy to do it. Absolutely free. Just want to help.
One last question. Are there any guidelines? I mean, if somebody is wondering whether, like you said, most people probably know if they're in a true addiction, but I know recently, it does seem that at least people kind of in my age group are really paying more attention to their relationship with alcohol, because so many of us turn to alcohol for social events and then for escapism, and how is there a place to see or guidelines of, when alcohol is becoming a problem, or is it totally an internal thing that you get to decide how it's affecting your life?
One thing that I always look at, because even being 8 years sober, addiction comes out in every way. It comes out with food, exercise, anything. So with anything that can become an addiction, it's always good to look at your intention. Like, why am I doing this? Am I eating all this food to fill up a void in myself, or am I just hungry? So if you're out at a social event and they're offering wine and you take a sip, if you feel compelled to have like 6 more, that's usually
likely a problem.
yeah. Or drinking alone at home. Some people do that. That's fine. You have a glass of wine after work, no big deal. But it's the intention. Are you drinking to forget your day? Are you drinking to forget how you feel? Are you drinking to numb? Are you drinking to escape? And that's usually when is if you're using it for the wrong reasons. And then when you try to stop using it for the wrong reasons, it becomes an obsession in your mind that you're always thinking about it, like you need it. So those are usually pretty big indicators that you have a problem.
Right.
But if it's just a social event and you're having a glass of wine and then it ends there, then it's usually not. Or if your family is bringing it up as a concern, that's usually
likely a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't like to listen to our family.
No.
Yeah. Great. Well, the world is blessed to have you empowering others to stop dying and start living if they're having addiction problems. And you can be found at rosechant.com. And is there anything else we want to mention before we sign off here?
Well, I wanted to thank you, Kathy, for
Oh.
setting up Empower. It's so beautiful that you connect with so many empowering people and share all these empowering stories and bring so much hope to the world. When you reached out to me, I felt so flattered. I was like, oh
Oh.
my gosh, you think that I have something empowering? Because, we always have that.
And you do, of course you do.
But yeah, thank you for giving me an opportunity to
Oh.
share about my business and my story, and for creating this whole group. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you for being here, empowering. And there's lots of others in the network that can help you do some of the other things if you need help with your getting your package out and stuff. So this is a place to be. Thank you so much, Rose. And we'll put the website in the comments and make sure people know how to get to you when there's addiction problems or family members, friends and family members that you can really help.
Thank you.
Thank you, love.
Bye.
Bye.